no matter what I do, no matter what I choose, it has to come from inside. It's always the style, the design, everything comes from your essence. No matter, I don't need to describe what business I am, because that is my core. So that core never changes no matter what business you're going to be doing. That is the secret for me. That's what it is. It's like finding that what is inside of you that you notice that comes all over and over and over again.
Hi, everyone. I'm Daniel Azarian.
And I'm Tara Langella.
And welcome to The Process, the show where we deconstruct the creative process of professionals from all disciplines. Join us as we offer a masterclass in innovation and imagination.
Today, we are so excited to have as our guest the fabulous creative director, Fab Totoli. Fab's journey in the aesthetic world began with a family steeped in creativity. Her parents were distinguished interior designers in Milan, Italy, and Sao Paulo, Brazil. Her career started building a successful elevated jewelry business and then personal styling, where she collaborated with prominent names such as The Today Show, Max Mara Weekend, J. Crew, and others. She then transitioned into personal branding and perception management and developed the ABCD of brand perception framework, which emphasizes not just the visual aspect, but also behavior, communication, and digital presence. She is currently the head of Totoli Studio, a digital design agency. Her aim is to empower small businesses to radiate their true essence and uniqueness so they resonate on a deep level with their audience and move their businesses commercially forward. We are so excited to have you here, Fab. I think this is just going to be so helpful for our creatives who are listening out there to marry art and business. Welcome to The Process.
Hi, how are you? Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to talk. You can put a coin on me and I can talk all day about it. So.
Oh, well, we like talkers.
We love talkers.
So, Fab, we like to get started by asking our guests the first question, which is, what does the creative process mean to you?
I know it sounds so corny, but this is my way of living. I cannot imagine myself not creating. I know a lot of people say to me, like, how can you do this and this and that and that? I'm definitely a multi-passion person, but creativity, if I'm not creating something, I feel like I'm not living. It's weird to say that, but it's just really, I know it sounds like so cliche, but I need it. Even in COVID, I was just learning how to sew. I was learning how to do other things that in my life I would never do it. I was painting masks, for goodness sake, because I needed to create.
Well, we hear that a lot, actually, that people that are creative, like they do it because they have to. Like it's something that's like a need in them. It's not like they even have a choice.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that, because I thought it was like cliche, but it's just really, I'm so glad to hear that.
It's
like
how I feel. It's like a drive, right? It's like this sort of like need and this drive within you to do that.
I feel almost like an addiction that
yes.
I am.
Yeah.
It's really.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Actually, then let me segue into your parents obviously were very creative. So how did they influence you?
I think that, I'm very different from my parents in the sense that they were always a lot more poised and, sophisticated and quiet. And they put me 2 years in etiquette course because I was like too rambunctious for them. But I know, and I didn't want to waste the money because I know. But I have to say that in my parents' favor is that they never stop making me who I was. Like they never, I remember that when I was living in Sao Paulo, my dad used to go to Italy more often to see the factories and the things. Like for my sister, he used to bring all this nice and polished and, very, me it was like a leather gold jacket and, funky and everything that it's me. And I learned, now going back to the questions, I learned from that, like they actually nurture who I was inside, and they told me and they taught me how to invoke that feeling inside and be who I am in the outside. So that's what I don't care what business I am, if it's in the jewelry, if it's in the image consulting, if it's in this branding, everything, my mission, and it's my core, is bringing the essence inside to outside. So for styling my clients was always who you are inside to bring. It's not about being like somebody else. It's not about being, oh, well, this is trendy. I can't be trendy. You know what I mean? Like, you have to be who you are, because that's what makes you cool and fashion forward. People say to me, oh, you're such a trendsetter. No, I just follow who I am. And that is the essence. So I have a thing, like, if it's not coming from your essence, it's not coming naturally. You're gonna get discovered, like you're doing something wrong.
I love that, Fab. And I love the word essence. I love that you're talking about it has to be about you, and it has to be about your essence. And you clearly have that. I mean, it just emanates from you. You have a sense, and it seems like you've always had this. It just seems like you've had this really good sense of yourself. What is your process when you're working with someone of maybe they don't know what that essence is, or they're trying very hard to define that? What is your process of helping someone discover that?
I totally agree with that, because I cannot imagine designing a website or creating a brand if I know the essence of the brand. It's impossible for me. I just can be having a Pinterest board telling me what they want. I know a lot of people listening to here is going to say, oh, but that's how I use Pinterest board. I just can be, having a boss, a Pinterest board telling me what I should be doing for designing. That's my way. It definitely comes to the essence. I know it's a lot more work. It's a lot more investigating and research part of the business. But I have to say, I hardly have any revisions. So I'm winning in the end, because a lot of my clients for starting this business, they even say to me, I don't even want to see it. I don't want to have any revision. I trust you. Can you do it for me? Just by giving them the mood board. So this is unheard of it, right? Like, this is not something that people, but it's just really because when they see that you capture them, that you get them, they have like, oh, I don't need to be on guard in here. Like, she knows what she's doing.
So Fab, you talk about mood boards, which I guess is one of your first steps to defining a brand. What is your initial influence though? Do you take what that person offers, like when you first meet them, and how they present themselves? Is that like keying in to who they should be? And my second part of the question is, what do you do when someone or a company or an individual comes to you for branding, and what they think they want to represent themselves as is actually what you feel not going to work, because even though they think that's what they want, it's not going to help them business-wise?
So great, a question packed of things and answers in there, but a great question. There's always a way. I don't believe that, I can say to them, like, segue from that, what you're saying. I have somebody who says, oh, I want a fuchsia. And, I love fuchsia. Yeah, it's the difference between you loving and your brand. What is the message that you wanted to convey? You're going to be attracting feminine. You're going to be maybe, when you add this very feminine colors with the cute font and everything cute, if you wanted to attract more corporate, you're not doing it. You're going to be attracting more women. You're going to be good for a coach. You're going to be good for somebody that, depending on your business, but not for maybe a business in a corporate.
And do you feel, so you have to have a conversation with them and say, look, what you want is not going to serve you. So you have to somehow, it's something tells me that you're successful at changing their opinion and getting them to do what you want. I have a feeling. Am I right?
Twisting their arm? No, just kidding. Torturing and waterboarding them? No. It's just like, I feel like if I see that they're very keen about that, I will have a discussion with them and say, hey, this is not the market for you. Then sometimes I don't take the job if I see that I cannot. I don't work against my own feelings because, first of all, it's not going to serve me any purpose. I'm not going to be able to put in my portfolio. I am not going to be able to be proud to sign up. For me, it's my essence that we talk about. Like it's about who I am and what I believe. And I carry that throughout everything I do. Sometimes I regret, like everybody else. I'll be like, oh, I'm letting the money go. I was like, I could have used that money, But I'm being real here. It's in the end, it's gonna cost my headaches, like my peace of mind. Really, it's so how much is worth it to have money in an account and then you're still like miserable and frustrated and you wanted to quit the job. So I don't know. I guess because it's a passion for me, it's just not, obviously I like the money, but it's just more, I'm not going to lie. I'm not in business to be, a charity, but I think like I talk to them but going back to to answer your question better, it goes into I have a very, very crazy questionnaire. I know it's like a 3-page pack of questions. It's intimidating for my clients that I even have to record it. Something when I send it to them saying, hey, there's a madness for my questionnaire. There is a reason why I ask sometimes questions that you might think is the same. But I pack so much in that I'm able to almost get their essence, because sometimes when they respond in a different way or they think that they have to do in one way, but then the question underneath or I get really what they're trying to do. So I don't know how, I get it. I'm able to kind of break it down.
It's almost like those personality tests where it asks the same question in multiple ways. And by looking at their different answers, you're able to kind of go through their guard and find out what's really underneath.
Yes. Yeah. So that is, I really, it took me a long time to narrow and to make this questionnaire. I call the brand excavation, questionnaire.
I love that.
But I have to, because
that.
now I'm in the luxury market. I say the clarity question, a little bit more, less politically correct.
But even that, you had a term, and because you had a different market, you had to switch it up a little bit. So you have to be very aware.
Yes. Yeah. I totally say all the time to my clients, every touch point of your brand has to be, and again, I am not luxury. Not luxury. I'm high-end and upscale, but I'm not luxury. But I have to change everything that I did, for sure.
Fab, let me ask you a question, because we will have a lot of, as I said, so let me use myself as an example. Okay. As a voice actor, for example. So my question is about branding and having your essence without necessarily pigeonholing yourself into one area, which is sort of what branding is in a way, like not pigeonholing, but sort of like, this is who I am. So say, for example, you have an artist, an actor who does a lot of different things. So I do a lot of different things. So on one hand, it's like, I want to say, hey, this is who I am. I'm your villain voice, or I'm your sophisticated voice, a strong, powerful voice. But in a sense, if I put that out there, then I'm also telling the casting directors, I'm telling them who I am without allowing any kind of leeway. How do you get around that? How do you get to the essence, but still allow some sort of openness to the brand? Because your brand is going to change. And one thing I've noticed in particular too is obviously your brand develops over time.
Yes.
So you can change. So how do you allow for that fluidity, I guess I could say? So, here's your essence, but there's also a little fluidity in that. How is that? Yeah. How do we address that? I'm curious.
Think that being able to adapt. I think this is one of the most qualities as entrepreneurs we have to have. And not be so rigid when it comes to that. If you see something is not working, like I just did the questionnaire name 6 months ago, and I started seeing that my brand, it was already taking a shape again to the luxury brand. So I knew that was not the voice. I had to change the voice because I was so scared that my website, for example, I'm sorry, I'm going to get back to you. I'm not trying to be me. I'm going to answer your question, but I'm just going to give you an example, is that when I didn't want it to look so expensive. So I started making quirky and fun jokes like I am in real life. And then I realized that people I was just attracting those people. So I was like, you know what? Let me pivot in here. Let me adapt it. Stop being cutesy and funny or whatever. It doesn't mean that I have to change who I am, but my brand has to adjust it. And that's what it is. So sometimes going back to you, and I also feel that a lot of people, when I hear online, they say that you have to narrow down who you serve. And not necessarily I agree with, okay, so I'm going to do, in your case, just cartoons, or I'm going to do just that, or I'm going to do just this. What is that makes you, you? That is what you need to narrow down. Like what you feel like you're so good, that you have so much experience. Like I said to you, for me, no matter what I do, no matter what I choose, it has to come from inside. You know, it's always the style, the design, everything come from your essence. No matter, I don't need to describe what business I am, because that is my core. So that core never changes no matter what business you're going to be doing. That is the secret for me. It's not so much narrow down your clientele, but narrow down how you do your business. Is that, no, is that English? Like, am I saying?
Yes.
Like I speak 5 languages, so I don't know.
How you run your business.
How you run your business, you know, thank you. Yeah. So it's just like, that's what it is. It's like finding that what is inside of you that you notice that comes all over and over and over again. I love to design for interior designers. I love it because, again, I understand the market, my parents. I understand fashion too, but for me, the interior designers are my things. But doesn't mean I don't market myself interior designers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I market myself for people that wanted to elevate their brand.
I love
Fab, talking about fluidity, obviously, you've went through many careers and you've been very successful in navigating that. But a lot of people in our audience, let's say, are scared to quit their day job. What do you say to someone that is really ready to make a change and go with a career that they're passionate about, but they're really scared and nervous to take that leap? Do you have any advice for them?
Oh, well, first of all, we cannot talk about that without touching about finances, right? Like you need to be stable. I think that it's huge. For me, I feel like finance is the number one. You have to give 6 months of security. So for me, that's the way I did. I live by my means, and I didn't spend the money that I was making and everything that I was being very focused about my next step. Once I closed the business, what I would say advice is that I didn't expect it. I didn't plan it. I didn't foresee is the emotional. Yeah. That was crazy to me. It hit me like a brick. I was very established. Let's say I was in the 20th floor and now I had to start it in a ground level. So the emotional part like that, and I wanted to be amazingly the way I was in the other business, but it's impossible because I didn't have all these years of experience. I didn't have what it took to be in a 24, you know, but also I lost my identity. I was not anymore like the jewelry lady. I don't know who I was, you know, so it was crazy. I went into a little depression, you know, and I chose to leave when I was making the year that I make the most money. So that was a huge fact, you know, like people, my accountant, I remember she's calling my husband and she's saying, I think she's going to a hormonal phase. I am not going to close right now. Let's put a pause in our business because she's going to let her cookie. But, you know, and they agreed to do that for me. They say, hey, why don't you just put a pause in case you wanted to go back? And I said, okay. But I was so determined. I sold everything. I had machinery, everything. Like I had plating machines, like 4 benches were gone. I sold everything and somebody came and bought my business, not my name, but they bought everything. So it was crazy.
Let me ask you just that moment, because I'd like to go a little in depth. But that moment where you have this successful business, you're making all this money, but then something happened and you said, I want to do something different. What spurred that? What caused that? Were you feeling a lack in something, or was it something? Yeah.
Yes, it was definitely a lack of passion. I was just going. I was not loving it. And again, I'm driven by emotion. So being creative for me is about feelings and emotion, and is that need that drive me to do everything. And I was just doing it. I was not really loving it anymore. And it was sad. It was sad because I lost that spark, and I don't know what happened. I don't have any bad experience. I don't have anything that I can tell you what made you stop loving it. I feel that I was getting very comfortable and not challenging myself, maybe. It was time. I have no idea. I think it was just time. I really feel that was my time to try something else.
But how brave of you for doing that and to keep doing it, because a lot of people we all experience that at some point, and some people just keep going. Like, well, that spark is gone, or they're not following their essence, as you say, or they're not, but they're just, what was it for you that you had this quality that you were just like, no, this is it. Like, you actually had the thought, something's not right. My creative spark isn't firing. I'm not doing that. You took the risk, and you've taken risks multiple times.
Yeah. And
you didn't let the fear stop you or the emotion. You went into the emotion. And I find that
my husband is the one that always keeps saying to me, like I said, I can't believe how resilient you are. Like, how you don't stop. And I'm older now and opening a business. Like, when I hear people saying to me, like, oh, I'm old, I was like,
it's all about what you said, Fab, connection. It's all about connection. And Dan, when our guests we interview, this is like a common thread. And I see this with people who are very successful, like you, Fab. And it's like, you have this positivity, and you have this, just kind of like undaunting, like you said, positivity. You're just like, no, I'm going, and I'm adapting, and I'm going to keep going, and nothing's going to stop me from my creativity, and I'm just going to take it. And I think that's the key I'm seeing to being successful, is finding that essence and sharing it, really, really sharing that truth, because I can see that in you. I mean, you're just so like transparent. It's fantastic.
No, but Tara's right. We hear the same things over and over again. They're common themes. We've had several guests of completely different backgrounds, and they're all saying the same things about.
Yeah, I feel like I heard a quote. I have 2 things that I heard that I took a note. One was, what is that they say? Like, attention is the new currency. So people they're not trading ads and not doing anything for you, especially you that do, do voiceovers. The commercials, they're not even considering what is that, how much clicks or how many things they get. They're getting at like how many seconds people are spending in their ads. They're competing to see what works, because attention is so precious right now to grab attention, because once you grab attention, you can convert.
I want to talk about social media.
Well, let's talk about the monster.
Let's talk about the monster and social media and
the elephant in the room.
The elephant in the room.
Or the monster in the room, I guess.
Yes.
Or the monster under the bed.
Yes.
How do we engage with social media, and how can we as creatives use it to connect authentically with our audience?
Well, I have to say though, I wasn't ready to put. I have so much going on, and since I opened my business, I don't have a social media presence right now, and I'm booked until December. I mean, like I had. So I really feel that word of mouth, it still happens. It's still very important. I started my business, my first successful business, before social media. So for me, I see now what we have to do is just like another job. And it's just,
Agreed.
it's so consuming. It's so, and it's an expectation. It's not being good of your craft anymore, but it's also, you have to show the world. And I came from a generation that my parents said, like, don't be showing off. Don't do this. Don't do that. So for me, it's very hard to be able to share my plate, my drink.
Literally, like, yeah. How many pictures have you seen of what
yes,
someone had for
yes.
dinner? I mean,
Oh, here it is. I'm drinking my water with lemon today. Click. So I don't have that.
Wait, sorry, guys. Doing an interview today.
Yes. Which is fine. And I don't want to sound like I'm mocking those people. I think that oh my gosh. I mean, don't we want to be like that?
Absolutely.
Because like right now, how important it is.
Absolutely.
So there's I'm not mocking, but it's just like, it's funny for me to think of me doing this. That's what it is that I'm talking about. Because I don't want to be not empathetic. You see what I mean? Like, I don't want to be for the people that do it, because we actually want to be like them, right? Like in reality. Yes. But I just don't have the patience, honestly. No. It's patient. And then now we have to, okay, so now I have to plan, what am I going to talk about it? What I'm going to do? I just want to work. I love what I do. I
agree. I feel the same way. I feel the same way that you do. I love talking about this because I do. I love the work and I want to work. That's what I want to do. And I think that sometimes when you, just like this is what I love. We're talking about our processes. We're talking, but this gets me just so excited and just filled with joy to be able to talk about these things. And yes, social media is important. And that's, I think, the question about engaging with that, finding the balance, I guess, between really authentically showing who you are as opposed to, I think that when it's done in excess, it takes you away from your own creative process in a way. That's my opinion.
Well, Tara and I were just talking about engagement and even like the thumbnails or the images that you post, and a human face or your face will get a lot more engagement.
Yes.
If there's a face. And I come from the world where you always spoke in third person. And it was my initial post when I did start social media, it was always pictures of my product, pictures of the work I've done. I never showed myself.
Yes.
And it seems that right now, the way the world is, you kind of have to, if you even want to engage in that.
No, and then I don't know about you, Tara, but like sometimes even the fact that as women that you gain a little weight, or you don't feel like doing that photo, or you see your face falling a little bit, like everything going down south, or you see the wrinkles, all this makes you feel so uncomfortable to do a reel or whatever they call that, right?
Tape.
Am I? I know, Cruella de Vil,
and then we talk like this, and this makes us very authentic, doesn't it?
I know. That's so true.
But that's what people want to see on social media, though. That's what people want to talk about. They want to kind of, this gets into a whole other topic of being vulnerable and showing the faults.
Totally fine. But like, I get it. Absolutely. And I show the way I am. I'm not going to be like going to a diet just to get a video. Sorry. I love food too much. But I love fashion. But I think I love food more. Yeah. But like going back to that, it is just so hard for us as when yes, I know people want authentic and I go and show my face, but like sometimes you feel like, oh my gosh, I don't look so good to be on the screen. Like, oh, I don't like the way that my arms are showing fat, like I'm just being real here. That's sometimes just that as a woman, we feel that. I don't know if guys feels that way too, but I know it's so much expectation in the women, how they have to look and how they have to present themselves and the way.
I think it's both sexes, especially with social media. I think it's men more. It's a lot more than it used to be. I totally see that trend.
That's what I think so too, because I see like how they have to be fit and they have to be everything. I don't have time. I wake up and I don't know. Like when people say exercise, I'm like, oh, extra fry. like, so I'm like, yeah, yeah, sign me up, like, and then they say, no, exercise. I'm like, no, I know it sounds so bad, but that's who I am. I love what I do. I don't want to leave here,
Yes.
I don't want to leave here. So if I can be from 8 to 12 a.m., I will be, I know it's my time.
Yep.
It's my time. I love what I do. And I don't know. I just feel like social media for me, I just did a course with somebody. I had a mentor because I knew I would have to, I need to get into that. And I was just like, how am I going to do this? And, and create it. I need it to be easy. I didn't want it to be an effort. I want it to come naturally. And I think that, and I hear over and over people say to me, Fab, but you have such a way of making people feel welcome, and, your personality, like the minute that we see you or we can connect with you, you have this ability. So you have to do video. But then it goes again, oh, my roots, my wrinkle, my face. And so that's what stopped me. And that's how I'm just being very genuine here, telling what I feel that stopped me to create the video. And I said, I have to get over this, because how selfish of me not being able to pass what I have inside or what the things I study, and I'm robbing people of this knowledge. That's the way I started seeing with her, that if I'm keeping all this because my roots are not done, or because my Botox is not done, or whatever it is, I'm robbing people. And then being empathetic, that makes me want to do it. That works for me. That's my language.
Well, I really admire the fact that you are getting so much business without social media.
Yes.
Yeah. So it seems to me that you kind of a theme I'm seeing with you is you do what your heart tells you. And even if you said you went through a period of depression or fear, but you just plowed through. You saw the positivity in everything, and eventually it came to be, and you're kind of doing it on your terms.
Yes.
Your way.
Yes.
And you're figuring it out.
I'm figuring it out, and I also have, I have that nerdiness side of me that I think that it needs to be fulfilled. And I think now that made me think about the question that I said to you, what made me want to do that? I was not getting enough of the nerdiness. I was getting more of the design, creative. And I was not having the balance of having the nerdiness. I read, I know I'm going to sound very bad. Last year was 185 books in 1 year.
Wow.
Yeah, so sometimes I read 5 books at a time. I don't read one. And never about fiction. It's always about learning. Whatever it is that I'm learning. It's business, is copywriting, is presence, is about a color, graphic design, anything, UX, UI, anything that I can grab, my hands to it, I'm reading. And never stop. So for me, the learning and the nerdiness that people don't associate it with me because of being a creative, you are creative, or you are, that mind that is very methodical, right? That you process math and things like that.
So your natural curiosity became your education. You basically are self-educated, self-taught, and it because you just naturally wanted to learn, and that's because you enjoy learning, and then you put it into practice, and then it becomes practical for you.
Mm-hmm. So I think that I am and I think that going back to the ground floor, to the 20th floor, I think that I always want to go to the 20th floor, and no matter what, I'm doing as fast as I can without shortcut. So for me, it's very important that I don't shortcut, but be as knowledgeable as I can of the subject. So you can ask me things out of the blue right now, and I will be able to give my point of view because I feel comfortable. When I go into something, I already did so much research, so much work behind, that I feel comfortable answering because I know the subject. I hate not knowing, the subject that I'm working on. That's what it is. Oh my God, I'm seeing myself. Sorry. That's why I'm not good in.
Oh my God.
You're beautiful.
I'm not good in Instagram. I'll be like, oh my God, guys, you guys.
Fab, I have reverse body dysmorphia. So it's reverse. So I'll look and go, oh, look, Angelina Jolie.
Oh my gosh. I love you. Let's stop. Can you
That's
just rub
all
it
you
in a little
do.
bit?
That's all you do.
Oh my God.
So you just go, hey.
It's the same thing that we had voice actor Tom Antonellis on, and he said every time he auditions for a role, he's another voice actor, he writes down on his folder, I am perfect for this role. So even though maybe he might not be, he tells himself he is perfect for every role he auditions for.
Yeah.
So it's that mindset. And
No, absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, jokes aside, I feel that I am the way I am because I was born with cleft palate. I had many, many surgeries. 48 screws, 4 plaques in my mouth, so I grew up with like this. So, until I get the surgery, I don't have a canine, they switch my thing. So it was like a lot of going on, growing up. So, and I grew up in Brazil where everybody's like perfect, like
Yes.
the plastic surgery you had
Yes.
in your sweet 16. And so for me, I never, my parents being European, they didn't believe like in plastic surgeries and things like that. I mean, they put braces. I used to go to Germany to get imported braces. So I have like a mouth full of braces on me and everything. But it's just, I grew up with that mentality that you don't need to be pretty. You need to be fun and positive. So I guess that's what changed. And that's why I don't see myself with that mentality. I don't know. Maybe I got too deep now. Let's go into the
No.
couch.
That's so fascinating that you did have those struggles growing, especially when you're a young child or a young teen. That in your formative years to get that type of that obstacle and that handicap, so to speak. But you overcame it, and then here you are as this incredibly positive person. So,
and kudos to my parents because I didn't know I was handicapped until I was, I think, in middle school, and I asked to play the saxophone, and they said, you can. Because that was the only thing that I couldn't do it, because everything is metal in the top. It's absolutely redone, and that would put too much stress in there. So I never heard anything before. So, and then again, even though they put me in the etiquette course, they never tried to change me of they just want me to be a little bit more calmer, I guess. But
Fab, I just have to ask, what was the conversation when they told you they were going to send you to an etiquette course? I mean, I'm sure that was an interesting.
I was little. I have no idea what is that. Like, I just went. I can peel a banana with a fork and knife. I can totally do that if you wanted. But I don't know when I'm going to use that, to be honest with you. I can walk with a book. I can have my push up and down like this.
Oh my gosh.
What a waste of money. I'm telling you. What a waste of money.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
But you still but you kind of still forged your own path, though.
Oh, yeah.
In spite of that, you still are doing it your way. So I think there's a sense of just going back to authenticity, of just kind of just relaxing and saying, this is who I am, and I'm going to enjoy it as opposed to trying to be something you're not.
Fab, I want to ask you, what is the best piece of advice you've been given, or something that's affected you, and something that you could share with us?
That came from my husband. I think that he said to me, why you're trying to do something just to be like somebody else? You're so not like that. So that is when I pivot, this business, that I changed the name and I did luxury and I went full force because I was just trying to be average. Nothing wrong. I love average. That's why I was thinking that I wanted to be, I wanted to be like everybody else. I like I said, I say essence. It's really clarity. Those are words that instead of saying, oh, let's make sure we know who you are. I don't talk like that. Let's make sure that we get clarity of what you do. Let's make sure that we find your essence. So those are vocabularies, words that the tonality, the message, everything is so congruent to what I do. Because if I use the terms and the tonality and the message that is not backing up my editorial, it's not about being formal. It's not about being, using those fancy words that I don't even know how to say it, so I'll be phony because that's not who I am. But clarity, essence, they're a little bit more elevated than average. But it's still the same point, and you can still see, instead of being done, it's complete. Little things like that I think that is important for people to say.
Fab, I'd like to know, where do you go for inspiration for your branding or your design? Like any magazines, any websites, what are your sources? What are some, you could maybe recommend, in terms of your
I think that,
inspirations?
Yes, I think that I try, like I said to you, obviously Pinterest, everybody does the Pinterest, but then I feel like it becomes like everybody else, right? Like you become just like everything, and nothing wrong. I love my Pinterest, and I use almost every day Pinterest for many, many things. I just feel that going through magazines, I go into the bookstore, and that's one thing I ask, giving a little hint in there from my questionnaire. Like, if you go into a bookstore, what magazines or what book subject do you go and look for?
Yeah,
that is your passion. That is what you go in your free time. And that's what I tell, like, what magazine you're going to pick it up. It's going to be about cars. It's going to be, so for me, I go into Architect Digest. Because I tend to love to design for interior design. So I wanted to know what happened in the world. But I go with such a different eyes. I look what the headlines, what is the fonts, how they make it big, how they do like that. What is the lining, how they created the line, because they're talking to my people. They're talking to my clients. So they already have the work there cut out for me. I just have to look and say, what I can do in my website to recreate that for a digital imprint. Everything, TV, sometimes even a pattern in the dress or somebody being interviewed by Jimmy Fallon. I look, I like that pattern. And then I go, and my husband said, here she goes again. I get up and I take a screenshot, or, I go that thing, because then I want to take an idea. So I'm constantly, I see a world with such a curiosity. I really do. I really do. I'm very curious.
Again, that curiosity is a common thread with creatives.
Really?
Yeah, it's like an insatiable curiosity, not just a curiosity, but just always. And you could see it. You're always learning, there's just so much. There's so much out there that we need to kind of take in so that we can create more.
I read a book that, I forgot the name that I read, but I can actually, he said that when you are a creative and when you invent something or you design something, is that we are the ones that are creating a solution for a problem for people. So we are problem solvers, that in reality, the creative people, they're very problem solvers. And I like to believe that, because then that's why I'm giving so much advice to people when they ask me, like, oh, no, you should do this, honey. I'm like, oh, because I'm a creative, so I'm a problem solver. That's the way, that's the excuse I'm using now. I'm not being nosy, but I just feel that I love that quote, that you are trying to find solutions, when nobody else did. And I think that is like a cool way to think of what I do.
Now, Fab, you are so confident, and I wanted to ask you a little bit about imposter syndrome.
Oh, you're gonna show me up now.
No.
You're show me up right now. Well,
have you? How do you define that? And is that something that, have you had your personal experience about that, or how we can deal with that? Because I know this is a big thing for everyone, but I think particularly creatives, or at least, these are the people who are really talking about it.
Yeah. I think it's something that we all live with. If somebody says, oh, I don't know what that is, or I don't know, they're lying. Sorry, I'm calling you out, because that is not true. No matter how many books I read, no matter how much you're trying to fill your bucket of knowledge, you still feel like somebody's better, bigger, or doing an awesomer job than you. And it's part of like really analyzing, sitting down and say, hey, are you delivering something good for your clients? Do you feel comfortable? Do you feel comfortable putting your name out there? Do you solving a problem for them? Are they super happy? Seeing one of my clients tearing up when I show her website for the first time because she didn't even want to look before or have any revision. She just want to be surprised. Seeing tears coming out of her eyes, and somebody that is super established and very, it warms up my heart. But I read, again, one of the books that I read, Mike Janda, which I love, is my mentor. Shout out to Mike. And I'm going to tell him to listen to this. One of his books, he said that he started his company and he didn't went to school. He never went to graphic design school. He sold his company. He used to design for Disney, Google. So he was a very accomplished. He had an agency. He started with a passion and really with a heart to serve people. And when I read that in his book, really helped me narrow down, or at least calm down, that imposter syndrome, because I never went to school for graphic design. Is totally about feeling. It's about balance and aesthetic. I am an aesthetic aficionado. I cannot imagine my life without aesthetics. Even the way I put, like, for me, again, like going back to this, it looks cute. The lemon with it has to look pretty. My food, everything, I have to look pretty. My plate, everything. So I believe that the aesthetics helps me so much in this business, because they all have the element of fashion and interior design. They're very aesthetically the same rules: proportion, balance, colors, what else? Scale. Everything is the same thing in all this business. They're all the same. You have to make sure that you narrow down all those elements. And I don't know how sometimes I don't handle well the imposter syndrome, and sometimes I'm like kind of cocky, like, oh, I'm good. I know what I'm doing, so I think this, depending on the day and depending how you have to quiet down those voices.
Quiet down the voices. Again, that seems like another theme. Like you could just plow on. You don't let you don't let negativity stop you.
Yeah.
You deal with it for the day or two, and then you acknowledge it, but then you move on.
Can I ask you guys, like, what do you guys do for imposter syndrome? Because this is something I would love to learn more.
I'm sorry, what was that? Imposter syndrome.
What? Can you Google what it is?
I don't know what that is.
I mean, I think...
I'm just... No, go ahead. Go ahead, Dan.
No, I mean, it's kind of like what I guess I was projecting myself. I mean, we all feel, most of us, I mean, so many people are self-taught. Most of the most successful people in business are self-taught. And I think that being self-taught in what you do, especially now with the way that the technology is changing, you have to kind of adapt and learn these new things, and you're learning them usually on your own. So
True.
Yes, you do feel insecure. You feel like, wow, do I know this enough? The first time that you do a particular project or a particular skill, that first job that you get when you implement that, you always feel like, oh, I haven't really done this before, and I know I can do it, but you kind of have to like act like
the charge.
Yes, and you kind of like act like you've been doing it like for 30 years when maybe it's the first time you're doing it. But I think it's similar to you, Fab, and I think a lot of creatives, you kind of like acknowledge that you're scared. And you acknowledge it, but then you just jump off the diving board and do it anyway.
Yeah.
So you kind of just have to you can't escape it. You just kind of move on.
It's a challenge.
You don't dwell in it.
Yeah. You just take it. Like you said, Dan, acknowledge, it's there. You know what? I'm not going to pay attention to that.
Angelina?
I'm not going to pay attention.
What about you, Angelina?
Oh,
Angelina.
Hi.
What about
I am
you?
Angelina.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Tanara. Oh, sorry.
No, you can call me Angelina, Fab. She's my imposter for the day. Now, I think it's a matter of, I've said this before about being slightly delusional. I think it's just a matter of like allowing the thought to come into your head, say, hey, okay, this is what I'm feeling right now. And most importantly for me, and this is why I love talking about the social media question with you, Fab, and love how successful you are without that. I do social media because we have to do it, but I don't dwell on that. I don't sit there and go down and look at all of these posts. I'm not going to, I'm happy for people and I want to support, creatives, right? That's why we have our show. I want to hear about it. I want to talk about it, but I don't want to dwell on that. Always have to go back to the work. Like we said, always have to go back to the work. So if for a second I'm feeling, I could be doing this, no, just go to the work, just create. And I think the more we focus on that and doing that in the present, this is another common theme we talk about, being in that present moment, as opposed to, I need to do this for the future. And, I did that role and, it just came out. Now I need to do this and I need to, instead of getting on that kind of hamster wheel, or as I call it, circling the drain, because that's what happens. You just start circling and circling and circling, and you're not going to move forward if you do that. So for me, it's just about the work, always going back to what I love. And it's the process. Always go back to the process, because when you're in the process, you can't think about anything else.
That's so good. Wow.
And you have to be willing to fail. I think a lot of times imposter syndrome creeps in because you're scared that you're going to fail or do something wrong. And you just can't, I do think all of us are good at what we do. And because, we don't let something out until we feel it's ready and we really want to do a good job. But at some point you have to find that medium where you just let it go and do something and move on to the next one.
It's almost like pressing an email that you're writing. You have to say something bad and just go like, stand it.
Yes. Exactly. Yes. That's exactly.
Take the chance.
Yes.
Shake it. Take the shot. Yeah. Always take the shot. Yeah. And you're right. And you're going to fail. You're going to fail.
You can't let that concept of perfection and being perfect stop you from moving forward.
Yeah. And I think this is such a, I always said that I am never looking for perfection, because I feel like perfection is an excuse for you not to do it, because you're going to say, I'm not going to do it until it's perfect. So I feel like it's definitely an excuse. I launch things and I do things imperfectly. I make a point that even though if I set up a day to do something, I'm going to do it, even if it's not perfect, because I can always improve. But I can never feel like a failure in the sense that I never did that. I missed a date, or I did that, or I did, because I have to be perfect. So and
I think social media propagates that image of perfection. That's why I think it's such an inauthentic device just by itself.
It is.
The way it's constructed.
And that's the confusion, because you're trying to present yourself authentically in an inauthentic medium. When you think about it.
So I like Fab solution. Just screw it. I'm not going to do it.
I love it too.
Oh, Fab, tell everyone where they can find you.
I do have the handle is like Totoli Studio. So at Totoli Studio. And my website is totolistudio.com.
Wonderful.
Fantastic.
But I have to say, how fun is that? My name is Fab and my last name is Totoli. So that makes me totally Fab. Wow.
Did your parents plan that?
No, it's actually my husband. I was only Fab before I married him. And then
that's right.
That's right. See?
So I was only Fab. And then 30 years ago, this weekend is going to be almost 30 years that we married. And I'm like, I said to him, like, I became totally Fab.
I love that.
I
love it.
So,
that's funny.
You are totally Fab. You are totally Fab. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. I'm so happy to be here. So honor. Really honor.
I just wanted to say, when you were talking about luxury, I just want to say, j'adore.
Je ne sais quoi.
J'adore.
Oui, mon chéri. Right?
Now, can we talk about...
Sorry, Dan is just there like, oh my God, what I got in the middle of these two ladies.